We will now continue to look at the features of Wireshark, such as the ability to filter for frames related to a specific access point, because there's a lot of data out there. Even though Wireshark is helpful to show us the contents and the headers of the different frames, sometimes we don't want to see everything. We just want to focus on, let's say for example, frames belonging to a specific access point. We will see how Wireshark and airodump can be used in conjunction with each other. So for example, we would be using airodump ng to find out the BSS ID or MAC address of the particular access point, and then we can put that into a filter in Wireshark and filter out everything else except for frames that are going to or from that access point. The combination of airodump and Wireshark is very powerful. There is some overlap in the functionality and features, but they are different tools, and it's often a good idea to use both of them together. As we can see from airodump, there's a number of different access points around, and Wireshark is capturing the frames from all of them. So we might often want to take a look at frames that are just for one of the access points. So we can do that. For example, there's a access point test 1 here with a BSS ID of 00. This is just the MAC address, the BSS ID. By the way, the information provided by airodump, we can see the BSS ID and ESS ID. Remember that an ESS might have multiple BSSs because it's an extended service set. So you can imagine a situation where you have the same ESS ID. Maybe it's a company that has a few different access points with the same ESS ID, but they will have different MAC addresses. So those access points will have different MAC addresses, which will identify their BSS IDs. So the different BSSs would then be what's listed on this side. We see the power beacons data. These columns here represent the number of beacons or number of data frames that have been received while we have been monitoring since we started airodump. And then other useful information like the data rates, the encryption, WEP, WPA, and so on, and the cipher as well. So in WPA2, it might be using CCMP, whereas if you are using WEP, then it's just WEP, which is actually RC4. So let's say we're interested in this test 1. We can copy the BSS ID and apply a filter to filter out the other access points. Wireshark has a large number of filters, as we saw. But instead of typing it in, let's just paste it here. So this access point, I know is a Cisco Linksys access point. So correctly, Wireshark put the source as Cisco Linksys. And I'm using a network interface card that is a TP-Link network interface card. So we see both Cisco and TP-Link correctly identified. Anyway, we see probe request and probe response. There's beacon frames also coming from the access point. So it's very useful. You can take a look at the contents of the beacon frame, for example, and well, you see binary data, but it interprets it up here. So this is useful for seeing what's inside each of the frames. Let's stop airodump, and one question you might be having in mind is, now this is in monitor mode. If I want it to go back to manage mode, how do I do that? What about AirMon? Well, I don't know, because AirMon NG, we know from previous experience that it creates a virtual interface and puts that in monitor mode. So now if we're just having our physical interface in monitor mode, can AirMon NG stop it for us? Let's try. Uh-oh, no, because AirMon NG is expecting that we have a virtual interface that's in monitor mode, which is what AirMon NG would have done if we had started the monitor mode using M1NG. So what can we do? Not to worry, we can use IW, and we can use IW to then turn off monitor mode. So set type managed. Oops. The device or resource busy. Well, we can't change the mode from monitor to manage while the interface is up. As we saw here, it's up. So first we can bring it down, and then Wireshark complains, as it should, because it's no longer able to get the frames that are coming in from there since it's down. And now we can change from monitor mode to manage mode. So we go back to this command. Now it doesn't complain. And yeah, so this is a way, for example, if we had done airodump and then we cannot use M1NG to bring it back to manage mode, we can use IW. So IW, the device which is WLAN 0, and the set type managed. We could have turned on monitor mode also similarly by doing this, and then we see that it's in monitor mode. So back to manage mode, and then when we're ready, we can do ifconfig to bring it up again.